I just want to make another comment here. We have a lot of extra visitors tonight. I can't think of any reason why, other than the election that's coming up. So I'm just wondering, in the next hearing of the public, is school related also election related? Or are they two different things? And if we're going to allow election related comments, President Thornton, since you are a candidate, will you then recuse yourself from presiding over that if that's what's going to happen? Thank you. Greetings, everybody. That was a brief scene from the October 29th school board meeting, and it just took place this week. As some of you know, there are two hearings of the public at any of these meetings. The second hearing is for school-related items. And what you just saw was my asking what the ground rules might be if election-related or electioneering sort of presentations were going to be happening. And I was wondering how President Dina Thornton would handle such things. So I asked for the ground rules. She didn't answer my question. Of course, you'll see in just a couple of minutes, a little bit here, what actually happened as a result of that. Now, you know, there are good people in Hamilton, but there are no perfect people. And there's no perfect candidates. There are no perfect school board members. And this is just the basic story of life, and it happens in this election cycle too. So what we've seen is bad decisions by good but imperfect people from both sides. And the most important result of all of it, it just makes meaningful discussion of the important school-related issues a lot harder. I'm John Muka, and I'm a candidate for Hamilton School Board myself. Now let me tell you my version of what's been happening in the campaign for the past couple of months. It's a story that includes my partner, Kyle Chadwick. It also covers the follies of social media and the role of an organization called HTCSE. And I'll tell you how it all came together this week at that October 29th school board meeting. Now, we're going to include some links at the end so that you can see some of the actual video from the school board for yourself. All right, so the story kind of begins with a focus on Kyle Chadwick. Now, Jessica and I were both very happy to have him on our slate. Kyle's a guy that brings over 20 years of real hands-on experience out in the world installing security systems in schools. He's been all over New Jersey. He's been to visit many, many school boards. He knows what to do for school security, and he keeps up with it. He knows a lot about how to make our kids safe for a full 24/7 and protect from things most people wouldn't even think about. He's also a very strong advocate for VOTEC. He's fond of saying that there's plenty of ways that you can make money in this world without a college degree. And you could be doing jobs that AI can never replace. Anyway, Kyle's not perfect. Kyle ran his own business and was used to doing things his way. He tends to be a gruff man at times with a very rough and straightforward approach. He's certainly not a politician. He's not one given to crafting clever narratives and measuring out each word. Now, when he got caught up in making some comments on social media, this gruffness kind of got him into some trouble. It led to some very unfortunate postings, which none of us are very happy about. Even Kyle has come to regret those postings. And of course, eventually our opponents dug them all up and put them out in the public. So what I want to point out here is what Kyle actually did all happened behind closed doors. It was on members-only social media sites. And most importantly, none of it was part of a personal attack. Kyle never engaged in defamatory false remarks about other candidates or other people from Hamilton. Now, in contrast, other people in our community were using their social media in quite a different way. There's a small group on Facebook led by the notorious influencer, Mark Van Wagner. And he's been known to provide ongoing special editions for the election of postings that combine a lot of derogatory and demeaning opinions of his with a lot of mockery and actual defamatory statements. Now, Mr. Wagner is quite creative, and he comes up with a lot of catchy phrases like the hate slate, which he invented 2 years ago and revived for us again this year. Now, in the meantime, Thornton, McSheen, and Scales, our opponents, they just stay silent, enjoying whatever vote-getting advantage they think they're getting from this. Now, the really unfortunate part is some people can start to think that everything posted by Mr. Wagner and the others like him is actually based on fact. And then they decide to adopt the same defective approach to what they put on their social media and how they approach us in the real world. And even current members of our school board can fall into this. Just a few examples. School board member Megan Stanton has affirmed Mr. Wagner's posting using words such as 100% true. Board member Stephanie Williams has been seen sending heart emojis symbolizing her support. And of course, Dr. Susan Just Me Ferreira has her own brand of demeaning and personal attacks against us on the Facebook. So, as far as toxic activity goes on social media, you got to hand it to some of our school board members. They certainly are holding up their own end on this. And they do it with personal attacks. Personal attacks about 3 current candidates who knows, could end up on the board, serving with them on the board next year. Now, let me turn the attention to the leaders of the renowned HTCSE organization. HTCSE, which stands for the Hamilton Community Supporting Education, Hamilton Township Community Supporting Education. And from their beginnings, very laudable beginnings in 2015, their organization has slowly veered away from what they actually stood for and what the name says about them. And, they don't really speak for Hamilton Township as a whole anymore. They only speak for one segment of our voters or our taxpayers. They don't support general education or education in general either. They have certain things they don't like. They're openly opposed to charter schools, for example. They don't like the idea of homeschooling. They're in opposition to basic parental rights. And they may be officially not partisan and members of supporting the Democrats openly, but they are strongly supportive of left-leaning policies and practices. And by the way, they're quite intolerant of any opposing or more diverse viewpoints. And most of all, there are clearly strong supporters of this year's slate of incumbents, the Thornton, McSheen, and Scales slate that's running against us. This was held at the Crockett Middle School. Public comments included electioneering speeches by 3 people. And first was Lisa Linkowski. Ms. Linkowski is the operating committee member and leader of HTCSE. Her presentation, it was clearly critical of our focus on skills proficiency and said a lot of nice things about the incumbents. In the process, no specific candidates' names were even mentioned, and although it was a clearly partisan opinion, it wasn't really defamatory in any kind of a sense. But just after that, a little bit later on the program, Lisa's 17-year-old son stepped up to the microphone. And he took upon himself the defamatory part of the evening's proceedings. He immediately...
All right. Good evening, community and board members. My name is Gavin Linkowski, and I'm currently a senior at Hamilton High West. This is going to be a little different, because you don't see a lot of young faces up here. I've come before you tonight to address a current candidate running for this board. Kyle Chadwick is a candidate running alongside Mr. John Muka and Mrs. Jessica Trombino and their campaign, Responsible Education Hamilton. Mr. Chadwick is not the correct candidate for the position. He complains about people calling him evil and that they're spreading hate about him. His response is say it to my face. So unfortunately, he's not here, but here I am. Mr. Chadwick will bring nothing but hate and negativity to a school board that needs the opposite. The latest findings of his hate speech have been on his X account, where he posts extremely inappropriate, racist, misogynistic, homophobic, and anti-Muslim statements. Do we as a community want this hatred and absolutely vile behavior to enter this district? Certainly I don't. How are you able to live with yourself knowing the words you spew affect hundreds of kids' lives that live in the district you plan on being in charge of? Their campaign is based on the same message that his running mate, Mr. John Muka, has been putting forth for years now, spreading messages of hatred and efforts to overturn our Board of Ed, attacking this curriculum and the health and sexual education programs. They've been trying for years to get this district to be divided, to split up households and our teachers while failing miserably, and this is just a new wave of their hate slate. Mr. Chadwick represents the opposite of what this district represents with his illiterate claims and uneducated demeanor. He claims that our district is failing our students and that we can't read. However, these claims aren't backed. And if you ask him to back these claims up, he'll be left dumbfounded and speechless that you have the audacity to challenge his empty claims. I personally spoke to Mr. Chadwick after my gallery class was invited to the Board of Ed meet and greet. Thank you, by the way. A few weeks back, and when asked to improve and support racial and socioeconomic achievement gaps in our district, he said, and I quote, "Well, we would try to implement segregation, not 1960s segregation, but segregation of kids that are farther behind and don't speak English." Mr. Chadwick clearly doesn't understand that kids who don't speak English will not adapt by being thrown into a room with kids just like them. Hence why America is called a melting pot, to mix everyone together. Their whole big campaign topic is improving test scores, is no more than a cover up of exclusion. Their agenda is to make a school less welcoming, less community oriented, and the opposite of Hamilton Township reflects. Although I am too young to take part in this election, I know the students of Hamilton, especially my friends and other peers, who are able and will be voting. They will be voting opposite of this agenda for the candidates that truly care. If anyone has not made up their mind yet before Tuesday, please feel free to go to Google Kyle Chadwick, Hamilton Board of Ed. Thank you.
Now, through it all, please note, candidate and board president Dina Thornton sat silently through this whole remarkable presentation. I saw defamatory attacks at a personal level that I'd never seen before in any other school meeting. Of course, she and Dr. McSheen and young Christopher Scales, who was sitting in the audience, they all benefit greatly from any damage that's done to our reputations just before we conclude this election season. Now, the third person, finally, Fran Carroll, also an operating committee member of HTCSE, took the microphone and pointed out, her very partisan support of the incumbents, which I kind of expected because I know these people. But she did add some very important details in case anyone might be wondering on how exactly to go and find the specifics of Kyle's unfortunate postings. So what we have is imperfect people taking inordinate advantage of another person's imperfections strictly for political gain. Now, I had waived my chance to talk during this second hearing of the public after Lisa spoke, because I assumed that we were going to keep this pretty much civil and there wouldn't be any real election-related tirades that I would have to worry about. After Ms. Carroll, who was the final speaker, I stood up and asked that my time be reinstated so that I could have some kind of a chance to reply to what was said by the young Linkowski. Dina Thornton immediately denied my request, and as I walked toward the microphone, she declared me out of order and moved on to other school business.
Our hearing of the public.
No.
No. So,
Let's move on the agenda. So what are we next on the agenda?
we're done with the hearing of the public. So, excuse me, you are out of order, sir.
Thank
You yielded your time for hearing of the public, and we're going to move on to other business. You had an opportunity to speak. I did call your name. You chose not to. We extended the period of the hearing of the public, and at this time, we're going to move on to other business.
And so this directly benefits you as a
You,
candidate.
You are out of order.
You are a
I am
candidate, and this type of
asking you
defamation
Out of
benefits you.
order.
So she compounded a mistaken judgment in allowing those remarks to be made in the first place, and then she cut off my opportunity to say anything in my own defense. So I have to ask the question, is she really the best person to elect for our school board in the situations that we're in right now? But wait a minute, there's even more. As I was leaving the auditorium, I was approached by Lisa Linkowski herself. And for some reason, she was upset that I had made a video of her public presentation on my cell phone. And what followed for a very extended period of time was just an experience of being bullied by another adult, and with no 4-minute timer to stop the problem. And I happened to notice in the process that a couple of security guards were standing nearby to act as enforcers for her point of view. And among the other things that she said to me, she said, quote, "I will go to the police tomorrow morning and I will make your life a holy hell if you don't delete that video from your phone right now." Now, in any case, it's settled law in New Jersey that citizens have the right to video all public meetings. and that includes school board meetings, and it doesn't really matter where those school board meetings are held. And I believe that this settled law supersedes whatever words that might be in a local school board policy. So the problem remains. There are no perfect people. There are no perfect candidates or perfect school board members. Now, here's the basics of where we're at. Electing the same incumbents back into their positions will likely give you more of the same failed policies regarding basic skills that were already causing the problem in the first place. They will hesitate to take a close look and to get rid of the things that they've supported in the past and don't really work. 3 new people have a much better chance of introducing some alternative thoughts and maybe getting some of it into the curriculum. And more diversity of thought on the school board is what's needed this year, not less. I believe it's still true that our better schools in our Hamilton will start with a better school board in Hamilton. And if you agree, look for us on the back page of the column of the ballot. We're in column F on the second page. And the other thing I would add at the end here is it's going to remain difficult to get new people on the board as time goes on if HTCSE continues its partisan and oftentimes very angry approach to anyone who comes up with differing thoughts.